All right, today we're going to break down something called the 3C protocol. This is a really powerful framework designed to help you master pretty much any skill you can think of, whether it's AI, trading, you name it, and do it with some serious, focused efficiency. Let's dive in.
You know the feeling, right? You get that burst of motivation, you buy the new course, you crack open the book, but then a few weeks go by and you're just drowning in information. You've got like a dozen unfinished projects and not a whole lot to show for it. If that sounds painfully familiar, you are definitely in the right place.
So here's the secret. The solution isn't to learn harder, it's to learn smarter. And that's exactly what the 3C protocol is. Think of it as a simple, actionable checklist that's designed to turn all that passive information you're consuming into a tangible, real-world skill. This is your roadmap. First up, we need to lay the foundation. This is the blueprint, and it all starts with two really foundational steps. You have to choose, and then you have to compress. This is all about setting a super sharp target and then filtering all the information that comes your way like a pro, making sure you only focus on what truly matters.
Okay, now this part is absolutely crucial. You have to forget about trying to learn 5 things at once. It just doesn't work. Pick one specific skill, just for 4 to 6 weeks, something like prompt engineering for AI automation. Then, and this is key, you define what success looks like with a crystal clear one-sentence outcome. For example, by the end of next month, I can build and deploy one AI automation for a real client task. See how specific that is? It's not just some vague goal, it's your North Star. It's going to guide every single learning decision you make from here on out.
So after you choose, you compress. Now this isn't about speed reading or anything like that. It's about becoming a gold miner for knowledge, not a passive sponge. You are deliberately, actively filtering out all the noise just to find those few valuable nuggets of information that lead you straight to that one-sentence outcome you just wrote. So how do you do that? Well, the first technique for compressing is selection. It's basically the 80-20 rule applied to learning. Before you even start a book or course, just skim the table of contents. Your job is to identify the 20% of chapters that are all about implementation, case studies, and actually doing the thing. This literally gives you permission to skip the long, boring history lessons and go straight to the parts you can actually use.
The second compression technique is association. You see, our brains learn by connecting new things to old things. So for every new idea you come across, just ask yourself this one simple question. What is this similar to that I already know? When you link a new AI concept to a standard operating procedure you already use, or connect a trading pattern to a business framework you're familiar with, you're creating a mental hook, and that makes the new information stick like glue.
And the final piece of this whole compress phase is what we call chunking. So at the end of every single learning session, you need to synthesize what you just learned into a simple model. It doesn't have to be fancy. It can be a quick hand-drawn diagram, a short summary in your own words, just 3 to 5 lines, or even a tiny checklist. And then you store all of these in one central place, your learning vault. Trust me, over time, you'll start to see these amazing patterns emerge that just accelerate your understanding. Okay, so with our blueprint all set, it's time to move to phase 2, the practice engine. We call this compile. If the compress phase was about gathering the right materials, compile is the learning gym. This is where you go to build real skill muscle. It's where theory smacks right into reality. Now, the core of this whole compile phase is this agile-like practice loop. So instead of passively watching videos for like 90 minutes straight, you break it down. You learn a concept for about 20 minutes, then you immediately, and I mean immediately, spend the next 10 minutes testing yourself on it from memory. Try to actually build that tiny workflow or find that trading pattern on a real chart. Then you see how you did and you adjust. This little loop turns passive viewing into active doing. All right, so within that loop, we've got 3 practice tools. The first one is called the slow burn, and this is perfect for any skill that requires real precision. Think about learning a single line of code, or a tricky function in some new software, or even just one small part of a presentation. The slow burn method has you execute that one microskill absurdly slowly, like painfully slow. You might write one line of code and actually explain it out loud, or say one sentence of a speech, focusing so intently on your tone and your pauses. By slowing way down, you catch all those tiny little errors that you would normally just blow right past. Our second tool, immersion, is all about getting you out of your head and into the real world, where performance actually matters.
Look, for skills like sales or interviews or public speaking, practicing in your head is pretty much useless. The key here is to force yourself to do at least one live arena test every single week. Host a 15-minute Zoom call to teach a friend what you learned. Post a short video on LinkedIn explaining a concept. Or just ask a question in a relevant online community. The point is, you have to move from private practice to public performance. And finally, our third tool is a classic, but it is so powerful. It's the Teach to Learn method, and it is the ultimate test of your understanding. You know, the best way to find out if you truly understand something is to try and explain it to someone else. After a learning session, just stand up and literally lecture the wall for 5 minutes. Or pull out your phone and record a quick video. You will instantly discover where all the gaps in your knowledge are. It's such a simple but powerful diagnostic tool. All right, so we've compressed the information. We've compiled the skills through practice. Now for the part that sounds a little counterintuitive but is absolutely critical. This is the third phase, consolidate. I want you to think of this as the growth accelerator. This is where you multiply the ROI on all that hard work by strategically resting. And this breaks it down perfectly. It's not just any rest. There are 3 types. During your 90-minute learning blocks, you're going to take these tiny 10-second micro rests just to look away from the screen. Then, after the whole block is done, you take a 20-minute macro rest. This could be a slow walk with no podcasts, no music, or you could try something called non-sleep deep rest, or NSDR. And finally, you have to protect your sleep. That is when your brain does all the heavy lifting of wiring in everything you learned during the day.
And that brings us to the final component, which is basically the steering wheel of this entire system. This is the weekly review and adjustment that makes sure you stay on track and that your learning is always aligned with your real-world goals. So each week, just take 15 minutes, that's it, and ask yourself these questions. First, what did I actually build or do? This keeps you focused on output, not just input. Second, which book, which video, which source gave me the most bang for my buck? Double down on that one. Third, where did I get stuck? Where did I feel the most friction? That becomes your #1 focus for next week. This simple review is what keeps the entire system sharp, efficient, and pointed directly at your goal.
So there you have it. That's the protocol. You choose your target, you compress the information, you compile the skill through practice, you consolidate your learning with rest, and you constantly review and adjust. It is a complete system for turning information into actual mastery. So the only question left is, what are you going to master first?